Hello, my name is Talhartif, and in this demo, we're going to take a look at cloud native migration. We'll be moving from classical to Gen 2 environment of IBM. Let's take a look at the workloads of the application. This application is deployed on classical IKS cluster with its front-end, back-end, and database sitting on this Kubernetes cluster. To persist the data, we have used persistent volume claims. Let's describe them. And to expose the front end, we have used a load balancer. Let's fetch the load balancer's IP and visit the application URL. Let's move on to the application. So we have created a user named John on this application. Now let's buy ourselves some socks. Let's pick this pair, and so right now we have two items in the cart. We are going to move this application and redeploy it on Gen 2 side to see if the data and application is in working state and the data persists. So let's move on to VPC Plus. So to do the migration, you need to add your cloud accounts. In this demo, we have already added IBM Cloud VPC and IBM Cloud Classic. Simply move on to Migrate Infrastructure. From here, select your account that you want to perform the discovery on and initiate the discovery. A live call is going to be made to IBM to discover all of your environment. On the left hand side, you can see a holistic view of all the resources that are discovered on your cloud. These dark blue zones define the subnets, the light blue is the zone, and the bluish color one is the VPC web template that has been created for you. Simply select your region that you want to provision it in, and the zone and the resource group. From here, we have given you the option for bulk select. You can click on any resource and find its association with other resources. You can also delete any resource from here. It would only remove it from the workspace and not the actual cloud. So click on bulk selection, select the resource that you want to move, filter it out, and it would filter out that resource and its associated resources along with it. Simply select the Kubernetes cluster, keep selected resources. From here, select the subnetting information. Let's keep it as it is. And then we need to provide it a VPC name. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to name this as new VPC Gen 2. You're also given the option if you want to change the region or zone. We need to make sure that there are no validation errors. In this case, we have a couple. So let's start with the address prefixes. Since the range is not valid, we'll create a new address prefix, select the zone and an IP address range. And then we are going to edit the subnet and use this prefix that we created. And we also need to attach public gateway for the cluster to communicate outside. And go ahead and we'll remove this older address prefix. The next validation error that we see is due to the cluster name and worker pool flavors. Since different worker pool flavors exist in different regions and zones, for that purpose we need to edit it. And you can't have a same cluster name within IBM Cloud. So we are going to change the cluster name, save it, and edit the worker pools. A live call is made to fetch the worker pools available in Sydney region. We're going to select this worker pool, update the information, and then we are going to select the resources for provisioning. Since we have only one cluster and its associated resources, we will just select that and hit continue. A pop-up window is shown, and if you are satisfied with the resources that you have selected, we'll click on provisioning. A provisioning report is displayed on the right hand side. You can click on each resource and expand its steps. VPC Plus is first going to provision a VPC, and then it's going to provision the networking resources required for a cluster to work. Provisioning takes time depending upon the resources. As you can see, address prefixes, public gateway and subnets have been created. So we have the required resources provisioned, and a live call will be now made for the IKS cluster creation, backup and restoration. The first step obviously is the backup. We are going to create a backup of your cluster and place it onto an S3 bucket within the user environment. After that's completed, we are going to provision the new IKS cluster. This would be a replica of your old IKS cluster in Sydney region, and then we are going to restore the workloads and data onto that cluster. Once this is done, so our provisioning is successful, we are going to move on to the cloud itself. This is our new cluster created. Let's look at the worker nodes to see the status. So everything is in normal status. Let's connect to this cluster and grab its front end IP. We are going to get the load balancer IP from this cluster and then see if everything is in right order. Let's visit the load balancer IP. Let's log in with the old username that we had created on the classical IKS cluster, and let's log in. So login successful. Our user data is safe. Let's take a look at the items. So these were the items that we selected. Our workloads and data, cluster and infrastructure, everything has been migrated successfully. Thank you for watching.